Hey guys, we're back for Heavy Western Podcast 2. As you can see, we've changed a little bit. We've gone for the Rogan setup here now, the Rogaine setup, and how you guys? Did you like our? We'd like to know in the comments if you thought we were good at knowing Star Wars things, and I think a lot of our predictions were really good, and a lot of the stuff we said kind of came true this week.
Yeah, and if you think it was bad, leave 2 comments.
There you go.
And share it and say, wow, these guys don't know what they're talking about.
If you like it, share it with your mom. If you didn't, share it with somebody you don't like.
If you didn't like it, don't say a damn thing.
Yeah, so, spoiler alert. If you haven't seen the latest, which is episode 5 of The Mandalorian,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. All right, if you're still here, you deserve it. So how about Thrawn?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, dude. That's I think that's opened up a whole new Rebels can of worms that we might be seeing.
Dude, can I just say, I have, this is the first time I've ever screamed. I'm going to be honest with you. I screamed out loud when Ahsoka, leaned in and said that.
I screamed when we saw Boba.
I've
actually been screaming a lot this season.
It's been a good season for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, do you have any predictions about the next 3 episodes? What
I don't know. I keep seeing stuff that Ahsoka's. They're talking about giving her a spinoff series. So I feel like one good episode with her was solid. We might not see her again until next season or something.
Yeah.
I think, and you and I have talked about this a little bit, but I think the drop that little baby, spoiler alert, Grogu was trained at the Jedi Academy on Coruscant and smuggled out by somebody. I think the best candidate for that, if they tell us who it is Mace Windu.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think Order 66 was not looking for him because he was dead.
Yeah.
Gives him the opportunity to sneak back in, save baby Grogu. I think he'd probably, at this point, if we learn about it, maybe at the temple when we get there, is that Mace maybe has died of old age.
Oh.
But that sets him up to be a big player in the Obi-Wan show that'll be our next one we get.
That would be cool.
And I think that will kind of, because I feel like other than the Solo movie setting up the Darth Maul and the Scarlet Dawn, Crimson Dawn, that's kind of about the only plot we have for Obi-Wan right now. So giving him Mace would be kind of cool.
Yeah. That would add some nice complexity.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you'd said before, falling down forever and getting your hand cut off is actually the only way in Star Wars to not die.
Yeah. If that happens to you, if you get cut in half, appendage gets cut off and thrown into a hole, you do live.
No matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm excited.
Me too.
So
all right. So what are we talking about today?
Well, I think country and hip hop, they're big. I think 2 of the most popular genres, definitely in America, and I think hip hop is technically by numbers the biggest, most popular genre in the world.
I think America does technically, if you were in another country, you still look to America for its music as far as leading the world too.
Yeah. So I was really happy. I've got my diesel. Learned this trick in Switzerland, and so I got my Coke Zero because I'm watching my waistline. Can you hear that? Can you hear that, John?
Listen to that gain sizzle.
And so you get a little, and then we got some Budweiser.
Did you even show them who's on it?
Oh, so that's coming. That's coming.
Dang.
So no, I'm not normally a Budweiser guy. However, we've got the Nelly Budweiser.
Hell yeah.
So we got
St. Louis
country grammar.
What are they calling it now?
I'm from the Lou.
The Lou.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Which, if you're in England, that's the bathroom. So
yeah, I keep thinking about
maybe England named St. Louis the Lou. Oh, just kidding. All right, so Michael, continue there now that you got your cordon bleu beverage ready.
I'm just gonna say half cola, half beer. It's really good. Thanks for letting me borrow your Chewy mug, by the way.
What you drinking, Tanner?
I have Miller Lite. It's the one that Brad, I told him it was missing, but it wasn't. I kept it. I didn't play dumb when he asked where it was.
Okay. Will you blame me for
Did you see my face too? I was like, I don't know, Brad. I haven't seen it. I don't know. what kind was it? Oh, Miller Lite.
What?
I would have definitely known that was yours.
What are you drinking, John?
Got some eggnog with Southern Comfort.
Oh, nice.
Wait till you hear who these are.
Okay, so rap music,
Yeah.
hip hop,
Mhm.
country.
Yeah.
So I think this has been something that I've been talking about with a few different people over the last couple of years. The differences between them. But the more I look into it, the more I read books about country music, the more I read books about hip hop, the more I talk to people, listen to people talk about them, the more I'm convinced that they are closer to the same thing than not.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they sound very different. So
Sure.
if you're thinking like, what? It's like, well, yeah, they sound totally different. However, I think they're functionally the same thing. It's like two cars. They look the same, but they're still getting you from point A to point B. I think that's the important thing.
And you see, like, people really wanting to push them together all the time.
Exactly.
And you're like, well, they sound so different. Why would they want to push them together so frequently?
Yeah. People trying to push them together or being very vehemently opposed to one or the other.
Yeah.
I think that's very, very common. Growing up, a lot of my like punk friends were very, you can't spell crap without rap.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if a lot too that is just the how young the genre is. Yeah. We're not that long ago from when it was just created.
Mm-hmm.
So like sort of like when someone is judging, like what a Latter-day Saint is, somebody who's Mormon, right?
Yeah.
I feel like they take a lot of heat, and I don't know if it's necessarily because of what they believe or doing. Obviously there are some extreme cases in that scenario, but if you're just looking at the, is it just because it's pretty new?
Mm-hmm.
It's like if it was thousands of years old, would it be taking the same heat?
Yeah. There definitely is, in that sort of situation, when your prophet's like 100 years old, it's a little harder to, when there's thousands of years, it there is the grandeur of the ages.
Yeah. So let's talk about when they're born. Maybe that's a good place to start. Maybe we can deduce a little more. So to my knowledge, the invention, I won't say the invention, but country music was just folk and just your songs until it was marketed for the Carter family and Jimmy Roger, right?
Yeah, he was kind of the first, as far as I know, the first kind of he was made up to be a...
Yeah. He predates the Carter family a little bit even. I don't think it's by much, but...
I'm not sure about that, but...
I think he'd already cut some records by the time they come down, so...
And then AP Carter was just running around, like, those were all just songs he was taking from people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was collecting folk music.
Yeah.
So, the term country was made to sell it to you.
Right.
So I think that is an important thing to take into account, too, when people are really pridefully with their shield of country music, like my thing is real, my thing is better. Keep in mind, the thing you're using as your shield was still just invented to get you to buy it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a...
Yeah, which doesn't make it not your thing.
True.
Or my thing. But I think we do need to be clear on where that term came from, why it became what it was, where it came from.
I think that's why you get so much feeling of honesty and legitimacy when, like, Willie Nelson's like, if it's good music, that's what it is.
Yeah.
That's because now the genre, which is the part that's the capitalism that's selling it to you, has man,
how about
that was so strong. I lost my train of thought.
Smell the honesty from over here.
No, I'm gonna die. That's true.
Yeah.
It's like, and so anything genre wise has really been made just to kind of pinpoint to you, but sorry, I'm
John's doing some pinpoint over there.
So, John, are you fact checking over there?
Can you get on Snopes?
I want you to look up the date of the first weekend the Carter family came down to record from the mountains, because on those first recordings, you have the infamous story of Mother Maybelle coming down for the first time and her being a huge part of one of the founding mothers of fingerstyle guitar, and that she did not realize in a lot of those recordings that they were, which a lot of times she's associated more, I feel like, with the auto harp, but she's a really killer guitar player, and that she had figured out how to play those multiple parts at one time, right?
Yeah.
So that's like where you get a lot of the rhythm, the harmony, and the melody thing going on in the guitar, like basically what becomes Chet Atkins,
and
Lenny Brown and those guys, like as they like take it to a steroid omega form, so day one of those recordings, the whole family is on the recordings. Day two, Dad is not on the recordings because their Model T had a flat tire on it.
Yes, he's fixing the car.
Which I think I learned that from that cool country documentary about like photography.
Best documentary ever.
Oh, it is. It literally is the best country documentary.
Like life changing.
Yeah, and it's like it says like a history on film or something, country a history on film or something. But
yeah, it's there's some conflicting dates here, but
just a year.
General consensus is August 1st, 1927.
1920.
So the 1920s.
So late 20s we have American folk kind of being collected into what then becomes.
So that's a good. You say 20s, right?
Yeah,
that's a good 50,
20s.
60 years, depending on when rap becomes a thing to you, right?
Yeah. And you do have that lineage of these folk songs that they're collecting. We were working on a song the other day, "Bury Me Not," and that's always done as "Bury Me Not on the Lone Prairie." It's a cowboy song, but there are earlier versions of that song which are "Bury Me Not" like on the open sea, and there's an old sailor tune, which is it's a couple hundred years older. It was like I think it comes out of Ireland, but a lot of these old English, Scottish, and Irish folk tunes, came over, just settled in the mountains. You all right over there? And settled in the mountains, and then they just kind of started simmering, and the people who were playing them started to play a little faster, and maybe you learn this new guitar style and started talking a little different, so there's like it depends. If you say country music starts in 1927, let's just say, if you were going to do that.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at Jimmie Rogers stuff, and all the Carter family stuff said August 1st and 2nd in Bristol, Tennessee. August 1st and 2nd, 1927.
Okay.
It says Jimmie Rogers was there August 3rd and the 4th, 1927.
Oh my gosh.
That's what. Okay, so I thought it was like that was like literally born that week.
Wow.
It was like it's pretty crazy.
What a week. Yeah. So then, were you?
One more thing.
Okay.
It lasted from 2 p.m. to 4:20.
Whoa. Okay. Continue. So we're talking about the birth, right? So we kind of nailed down a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. So then we have, and this is all. I'm sure there are varying things with like rap too, where it becomes a thing, right? So then you have the 1970s, right? So to my knowledge, which could be totally, and I'm sure from the way it sounds kind of like the LA like Van Halen backyard parties, where it's like, I mean, who really knows what happened at Van Halen backyard parties? But
drugs.
So in the 1970s, they began at block parties in New York City, began sampling like looped drum tracks from like soul, funk, and disco stuff, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So that's the birth of rap, right? So they're rapping over these things, right?
Okay.
So now I think this is where and I don't want to segue on that. We can talk about that later. But I think this is where, if we're just looping drum tracks, that's where we lose the melody and harmony, which is probably intentional so that you can do whatever you want over it. You could sing, you do it, anything you want, right? So I think that's where it probably, a lot of the early rap falls into the people doing it doesn't have the harmony thing going on, and like, and somehow trying to unqualify it as music because of that. But, so then the first then 1979, Sugar Hill Gang comes out with Rapper's Delight, which to my knowledge is the first like hit rap song.
Okay.
And then in 80, you have Curtis Blow.
Wait, I know nothing about the origin or like the dates and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Curtis Blow. That rules.
Yeah, does rule.
Dude,
it's super cool.
Why is that?
Yeah.
Golly.
And it's like, I mean, that's pretty obvious where that probably reference comes from. I mean, the Curtis Blow thing. So you've got about like, depending on, I'm sure culturally there in those cities, like it was probably your thing, but that's when you were like, that was probably I mean, there was much more underground rap after that, but like, that was like brand new.
Yeah.
You know, that was being in on like, that was like being in on thrash in LA, you know, like back before it was even anybody else knew what it was or something, you know? But I was thinking that is interestingly similar to, so we have now sampled percussion, right? So this is a live performance that is not being played by a band, which reminds me of, and I could be hazy on this as well, but as far as I know, what was that? As far as I know, the like original reggae, it was really like bands basically in these like times of turmoil and revolution down in their country were recording reggae records, and it'd be on like nasty $50 guitars, whatever they could find, right? So that's why to really get true like reggae sound, you got to play, you know, you cannot play like when Stevie Wonder does reggae, like damn, what's the name of that song? Master Blaster, right? Like it's like recorded with nice things, and it's kind of like,
wait, he has a song called Master Blaster?
Yeah, I believe so.
Dude, why am I so
Can you search that so I'm not saying the wrong name?
I did not know that.
Who are we looking for?
Stevie Wonder, Master Blaster.
Dude.
So Jamaica, that's so a club in Jamaica, the competition between the best bands, it was the clubs that were competing who had the best stereo playing the reggae records. So you might have 3 clubs playing the same record, but the best stereo wins.
Interesting.
You know? So that just makes me think of the parallel of like rap also being a sort of a sampled genre live at first.
Yeah.
I mean, there's be somebody live rapping over it, but so that's kind of a neat.
I think that's an interesting thought that's, you know.
Yeah, it's Master Blaster. It's gotta be.
I think, you know, I think people might balk at the idea that there's samples going on and that, you know, the person who's maybe doing that does not perform all of those instruments. But I don't know, like I feel like you could make the same argument if you wanted to. I mean, if you wanted to really push it, that, well, Jimi Hendrix doesn't make all of those sounds. Like the amplifier is needed to do that. You know, it's like he needs this electronic equipment to make these sounds.
Sure, yeah.
And it really just becomes, I think, where you draw the line.
Yeah.
On, you know, okay, well, if you need that fuzz pedal, or you need that pedal board or the amp, or, you know, when Peter Criss was doing the solo for Kiss and they had like that phaser on his drum, it's like, okay, well, when is it okay to just add effects? And when do you just say, well, you're playing the samples, that's an instrument, you know?
Well, somebody said to me once, because I was like, well, I don't like to have things like pedals get in my way as to whether or not I can play. Like I want to be able to like, or like special devices or stuff. It's like, well, what if you forgot your guitar? You wouldn't be able to play either. And like, I guess that is a valid point. It's like,
ooh,
yeah.
You should really learn to play without your guitar, Tanner.
I mean, I can sing now.
Plus the scat.
Yeah.
Ooh.
There was something that you touched on. Go back. Where were we at?
Go back.
There was something before we got into that. There was something I wanted to say about what you were saying. Oh man.
Okay. While you're thinking about that, we're on the subject of scat. You know Paul Hamilton. So he played with the Texas, it was Bob Wills, right? And the Texas Playboys.
I think so.
Okay, so they were still playing, and he would sit in with them, and that was one of the things he would do is he would just like scat his solos while he was playing them, and like sing them into the mic. And they all, he said that he was in a Dairy Queen one time, and their fiddle player came in, and he walked into Dairy Queen in shorts and no shoes, and he was just like, "Oh, hey, Paul."
Sounds like something you'd do.
Spoiler alert, it was me.
Yeah.
And he just walked in and was like, "Hey, Paul, I really like that thing you're doing the other night." And he's just like, "Thanks. You're one of the Playboys. We're in Dairy Queen, and you've got... You're not wearing... Huh." It was just as surreal to hear as I'm sure couldn't have been half as surreal to actually be there at a Texas Dairy Queen.
Not as cool of a story, but still about Dairy Queen. You remember when we stopped there and I got the sandwich and it was supposed to be the barbecued like pulled pork sandwich, and then it was a sloppy Joe, and they don't make sloppy Joes. That was my weirdest Dairy Queen experience.
Yeah, if anybody has any information on
what town was that? We said we'd never eat in that town ever again.
It was
Start with a T.
It was.
So we went to the gas station, and there was like a chicken restaurant, but they had like one chicken tender, and there was like 8 truck drivers, and all of us fighting for it.
There was a bunch of bikers in there too, and they decided to have both the attendants go over and run the chicken line. So then like the chicken line got done, but then the line to get gas was like around the building.
Yeah, and that one guy threw the sandwich like in the little basket, so they were really upset about it going bad. And like one guy kept telling them they were coming back for it. Like, he's not coming back for it. It's in like the Apple thing. He just got sick of waiting.
that town sucked. I don't know where. It was right outside Nashville.
I will say it was
never again.
Weird to have a Dairy Queen sloppy Joe when I know they don't do that.
What was it?
I don't know.
Ooh. Yeah, if you have any information on that, leave us a comment.
Or
update.
I would also be interested, and this is not to contradict you, but we're talking about 1927 as being a real pivotal year for country music, 1979, 1980 for rap music. I'd be really interested to know, because I'm sure these are contested and there's like multiple, it's just wherever you pin them.
Yeah.
So I'd love to know where.
Well, you get that thing where you start having the competing who was most influential type things, like
sure.
was anybody like maybe this guy did it first, but was anybody listening type thing.
Oh, that is a really hard one. I remember going through the rock and roll stuff with that. And how many people were doing stuff,
I really like talking about that one. That one's cool.
We should do that one.
Yeah, we'll do it at a different time. But do you have another thing you want to talk about before I go into something you got? Well, you go back to your thing.
You've been doing real historical. You've been looking at dates. I'd like to go philosophical at some point, but I don't want to cut you off.
No, let's do a little bit. Let's go. We'll go back to dates later.
No,
it's over. No, it's just
no. Let's go ahead and finish dates. Let's go. Let's
okay.
Let's roll that, and then we'll. I've got my paper here.
So I want to go back a little bit to where we can maybe definitively draw the line as to where rap and country split originally.
Oh, yeah.
So, and then maybe where they, like, we can go into why they make sense to put together, but why they weren't together before that. Might be a good place to go back. So, when was the end of the Civil War?
68? Or... Golly.
That sounds right.
I should know this.
You should. Ding, 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 ding.
I was homeschooled.
That's right.
So, sorry,
John, you know
Mom.
the end of the Civil War?
1865, it says.
Okay.
Oh.
So, blues is usually considered being born around somewhere in the 1860s, right? So we're probably dealing with I'm sure the splurge of that is obviously people having their literal what? What'd I do?
Sorry. The splurge just caught me off guard.
Oh, yeah.
I was not prepared.
The
Sorry.
splurge of that is people having their freedom to go around and actually do what they want to do, right? So we have blues being born, which is born in the South of the United States, right? And I feel like there's a ton of stuff you could roll up into there. I'd say it's mainly the music coming from the slaves, but I'm sure a lot of it is also like Irish folk kind of trickles in there. You have the instruments, you have the banjo coming in, you got the guitar coming in.
Oh yeah.
Which I believe is, well, actually, aside from drums and like a flute type instrument, a stringed guitar like instrument is the oldest historical instrument we have. There's a hieroglyph in Egypt that dates back to super far ago, which is kind of cool that the guitar like has a
nice. Is there like an amp with it and people like going like,
yeah, with the UFO is like ringing it down. It's hooked up to a UFO and they're like, so we get all that born in the South of the United States, right? So blues is born, and I would argue that since like the really important classical music, like we're talking the founding fathers of classical, like written classical music, like Mozart, Beethoven, Bach, those guys. Blues is the biggest thing to hit the planet musically since then. As far as changing things, influence, importance, and just being a new thing. It's like a lot of people are following those rules forever. Or just building off of them, right? So we got blues comes in. So blues is like the grandpa, right? Are you okay?
Sorry.
Why do you keep making those faces at me?
I'm really trying to not just like burp.
Oh.
And it's not working. I'm sorry.
Just do it. Just burp. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
So, blues is the father of,
the grandfather.
The grandfather of jazz, funk, stuff like that, right? Yeah. So, and rock and roll, obviously, right? Yeah. So, you have the Irish folk stuff is really what trickled into the Carter family and Jimmy Rogers stuff first, right? And they were literally going and taking those things. Like that was exactly what they were pulling from.
Yeah.
It was like family folk songs, probably predominantly Irish lyrics, right? So you don't have a lot of that probably blues stuff in that yet. If anything else, it's just like a mountain family of Irish folks, probably haven't interacted with a gospel church or a traveling blues artist of the time, by the time we're in the 1920s. Yeah. So blues definitely predates the country thing, right? So, and country's like weird. It starts snowballing as soon as you try to market it and change it and resell it and repackage it and make different things all the time. So blues, you get the kids of that, right? So you get funk, jazz, obviously way later rock and roll. But you get the then you have things like rap start sampling. Gospel over here is like obviously it's got the church part of it, but it's like that definitely like gospel is, I would probably argue, is maybe 50-50 blues and soul is 50-50 blues and gospel.
Okay.
Like with the instrumentation, then with the vocals, right? So when you have rap sampling those, there's rap is sampling disco, soul, funk. That is like the kids of blues.
Okay.
Right? So it's sort of the grandkids, I guess you'd say, of blues, right?
Okay.
So then you've got in the 50s, I would say, like rock and roll really takes hold, right? So that's about 20, 30 years before rap, right?
I spilled.
So rock and roll may be the youngest child of blues.
Okay.
Right? So it's the youngest kid in the family, right? Okay, hang on, let me get back here.
I'm going to pour myself another drink. 0 calories.
Sorry, I can't help you. I wasn't paying attention.
No, it's okay. I'm just thinking when they collide, like for the first time.
So Bill Haley in the comments, I believe, is. I've heard that credited before as.
Well, and obviously, once you get to the '60s, all the folk artists and all the blues artists are like slamming together. I mean, that's like, that's the explosion of that. I'm sure it's happening in the 50s.
Can you look up Bill Haley in the comments? The Rock Around the Clock.
Yeah. What you drinking there, Tanner?
I got a little bit of Miller High Life. This was also donated by a friend of mine who thought they didn't leave it at my house. Thank you, Mr. Elza Goodlow.
So I've heard that one say that is the first song that has all of the elements of like rock and roll, rhythm and blues,
and what was
country
it in particular you're looking for?
The Rock Around the Clock, is that the
rock? Is that okay?
Or am I getting my artists mixed up here?
No, that's oh yeah, that sounds right.
So, and again, maybe not, I'm not, trying to make a case for he is the definitive artist, that this is just a moment in history when these things really coalesced into a cohesive one thing.
Yeah.
And this is what year did this come out?
1954.
Yeah. So 54, and then, but so you had then said at some point then, so these are all rhythm and blues, country, they're kind of the same thing.
Yeah, and that's like, once we hit the 60s and then held it in the 70s, that's when it's like, we got stuff like Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. We got Bob Dylan's like picking up an electric guitar. It's like, so I feel like musically, like theory-wise, and I won't go too far into it, but what we're looking at when we go back to the blues artists, the guitar guys, a lot of times it starts with open tunings, right? So what happens is when you're using a slide and open tunings, every chord becomes major, right? So they're following their ear. So you got a lot of uneducated musicians at the time, and I say uneducated as in they're just following what they know, right? Not as in like, but there wasn't a lot of educated musicians at the time either.
Yeah. Well, and this is part of how that classical theory of somebody who would have composed on the classical tradition.
Yes.
Being schooled in this and then continuing that versus,
and you just hear it. It's like,
yeah.
And you got is it Stephen Foster who wrote like Old Town Mary, ring that down, right? So he's writing basically pop hits in the 1800s, right? Oh, so wow. So a lot of these people are probably hearing that as well. So you're basically like us. Whatever our level of music theory knowledge is, we write with what we're familiar with and what we've heard, right? It's like you have a lot of people who write a lot of great songs and know nothing about what they're playing, and that's totally fine and it's awesome. And really cool and good, and it is not better or worse than anything else.
Well, and that's how we learn language in general.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's how we initially learn our first language.
Yeah.
So that's how we learn. So
yeah, so there's a lot of I shouldn't say a lot, but I remember the thing I was going to say earlier. The idea of a song being finished.
Ooh.
So collecting those songs really, to me, is the point where we learn how to record.
Okay.
It's like all those family songs, right? Those songs probably evolved over generations and generations, and like, shanties, like whatever happened to them that week, it's like was what became a part of that song, right? And they just keep evolving. But now we have this idea that there is a definitive moment when a song is finished, or at least for that moment, it is there's a snapshot of what it is right now. Yeah. Like the Grateful Dead always talk about how like a recording is really just a picture of how we play this song right now, and how we play it in 10 years might be totally different. Some people view that even more as like, this is the song and that's how you learn it. And
every performance henceforth should be as close to this as possible.
And if you don't, you're wrong.
Yeah.
You mess it up, right? Yeah, can't relate to that.
Messing up? I
can't remember lyrics. So you got the early guitar players, and originally, they're just singing over one chord. So when you get those ideas of like Bad to the Bone, that's like a one chord tune, right? So then we got to where you would hear those blues singers stop singing or stop playing and would sing up to like a imaginary 5 chord and then come back down, right? So it's like
keep playing again.
Yeah. So it's like they wouldn't be playing the chord, but they'd be singing up to it, right? So that kind of comes back into the whole thing I feel like you and I have talked about where, if you stand along the idea that music is melody, harmony, and rhythm, then like how is singing the Happy Birthday song a cappella music, right? Yeah. So it's like, they started singing these over these harmonies that were like in their head, but they weren't playing them yet, right? So then you finally get to like what you think of as like our 12-bar blues form, right? And the idea of that is it's a 12 measure repeating chord progression that is 9 times out of 10 exactly the same with slight variations and improvising and coming up with the new lyrics every time, right? This we're also talking, when this was invented, we're still talking pre-recording time, So now that gets us to semi-modern blues, right? 1900 stuff.
Okay.
So now we're singing over still solo guitar, like the Robert Johnson stuff. There's a really good Robert Johnson, like intro to Robert Johnson documentary on Netflix right now if you don't know anything about him. And he is not the first blues artist to have claimed to sold his soul to the devil, but he is the one who gets all the credit. So he would be an example of somebody who
was that part of his deal with the devil? Was that he wants all the credit for being the first one?
Yeah, probably. Gene Simmons showed up and wrote him a contract up and said, "You get all the rights for it."
Thanks, Gene.
Yeah, and he to me he's one of the first really good marketing blues vocalists, and there are I think now 3 or 4 known photographs of him. We've actually found 2 in the past couple of years. Nice. 1 or 2. I can't remember if there was.
I feel like we found there was like 2 more that came out this year.
Yeah. Super mysterious. And like
I found one on your kitchen counter when John cleaned it off the other day.
I got about $30 for that one. So his I think there are, it's either 13 or 26 studio recordings of Robert Johnson. And I believe they were all done in the same day.
Wow.
And the legend has it as he comes into the studio, they set up a microphone for him in the corner. He just faced the microphone for a few hours, cut them all, didn't look at anybody, and left. And the most common accepted way for his death was that he was murdered by one of the... There's actually a really good documentary that just interviews all of his girlfriends that are still alive, and they're like all in their 90s.
Whoa.
And he had a girlfriend in every town.
Whoa.
And the deal was that they think he probably ended up getting caught. Husband shot him or something like that. Nobody really knows how he died. But so then we get over to if you look at the guitar theory-wise for sort of folk-based stuff, right?
Okay.
And you have a little more standard 1-4-5-y, a little more classical derivative, a little more straightforward, like diatonic to the major scale. Maybe a secondary dominant here and there. Ding, 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 ding. 5-5. Ding, 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 ding. But very similar where we have this idea where we have the same musical backdrop for the lyrics that fit your life. Right? So it's like, that's why we have all those Irish songs that have different lyrics. My melody, Silver Haired Daddy of Mine is something else to somebody else.
Yeah.
And so I think that's another good, compelling argument that those genres are similar at birth.
I don't know if you just wanted to set up the perfect segue.
I did.
But you did.
Are you telling me I'm getting a segue for Christmas?
No.
I've wanted one of them ever since it came out, since I saw that chimpanzee riding that one YouTube video.
Oh, you're going to be...
All right, lay it on me, big dog.
All right. Well... Well,
sorry, you going by log now, big log?
Big log. Yep, that's what my bowel movements look like.
Never seen one.
Never seen a solid one.
Why'd you have to tell them that?
Everybody knows.
They don't need to know stuff like that.
Well, so you're talking, blues, rap, country, these folk songs, they're all kind of for people. So that is the definition of folk art or music in the idea that the art itself is created. This is real highbrow stuff, It's created for a group of people to service them in some way.
Sure.
That's
that's first when I said splooge.
You said splurge.
We'll censor that later.
Okay.
No, we won.
What are you doing? Okay. But for real.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, the definition just of folk art, is that it's the people, the music of the people, the art of the people. So, when you're talking about populations,
Mm-hmm.
the Irish moving in, the English coming in, populations of freed slaves,
Mm-hmm.
kind of trying to figure something out, So
Are we talking in the United States right now?
yeah, well, I mean, it would be anywhere,
Okay, gotcha.
But, I mean, I'll tell you, if you want to hear some really wild stuff, there's like Turkish folk, which is as close as they could figure it what Homer would have been singing.
Whoa.
Because he, the Greek, it's not, so Homer would have actually like lived in Turkey.
Okay.
Which
when he was doing stuff? Okay.
Yeah, so he was not like mainland Greece. He was, oh man, my great professor.
If Odysseus was here to see you now.
Oh, he would just slaughter me. Look up is it the Ionian coast, I believe, or the Doric?
Ionian. Mode 1 of the major scale.
Oh, hey.
Boom.
Whoa.
We're piecing together Da Vinci's Code here, boys.
Now, what is it about this mode coast that you...
Okay, so did you type in Ionian? Is it bringing up Turkey?
No.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. It's
you're okay.
That's
Greece.
Is this a map? I like this.
I like maps. Okay. Well, anyway, so the Greek speaking worlds were they had a little bit all around the Mediterranean, but they were in Greece, which is why actually I don't know if you know this. That's actually why it's called Greece, because Greeks were there.
What?
Whoa. Yeah. Right. But anyway, but they were also in Turkey.
Update.
Whoa. They're also in Turkey. Now, again, that whole coast. So when the Spartans went and fought in the Trojans, the Trojans were in Turkey. They were Greek-speaking peoples in Turkey.
Mm-hmm.
Homer would have been in Turkey.
Is that where Troy is?
Yes.
Turkey?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's where Heinrich Schliemann went and eventually found all, 9 of them.
When he went in with his aviators and dynamited every country
It just blew all of Troy up.
Yeah.
Found it, married a Turkish gal, dressed her up in all of the gold, and said, "I'm taking this now."
It was like the villain Indiana Jones needed to stop. There was no Indiana Jones.
Yeah, there's no Indiana Jones, and I think they only recently returned all of that gold back to Turkey.
Oh my god.
Anyway, I'm sorry, that was the worst rabbit trail ever. Anyway, so the Iliad would have been sung, right? They would have been a song, so it would have been a folk song basically.
Even chapter 3.
Chapter 2.
The
catalog of ships. Well, so actually, the catalog of ships is a really interesting point.
John had 7 tractors. He also had a buzzsaw in the garage. 3 cabinets that they made for me.
Okay. But seriously, that's a really interesting point for folk art, because the catalog of ships is, if you've read the Iliad, it's the list of all the people from Greece who outfitted ships and how many men they brought. So if you're from that city, you can go, oh my gosh, that's where I'm from. We brought 3 ships.
Yeah.
We kicked ass.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was there's a museum in Lexington, Missouri, and there was a battle.
It's like a wall plaque, basically, but like in a verbal form, like a...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. And so there's a little bit of there's a museum in Lexington, Missouri, and they have pictures of different people who fought at the Battle of Lexington. And there is a man listed on the wall, James Cook, spelled the same way as my name. He has even the same beard that I have.
Wow. Oh yeah, you sent me that.
Yeah, he enlisted in Monmouth, Illinois.
Oh my god.
Which is the town I was born in and grew up in. So,
but you're not related?
I mean, could be.
How would you not be related? I mean, are there like 7 people in Monmouth? 2 of them are your... I don't know. But, 8 of them are your family?
But, the emotion that I felt when I saw that.
Yeah.
That I was like, oh my God. Here's this guy from Monmouth We have the same last name.
Yeah.
He looks like me.
Yeah.
I mean, and not even just the beard. Like, if you just like kind of squint your eyes, you're like, that's me. You know,
Wow.
it's wild. So when you
really cool.
when you have the catalog ships, you know, imagine you're telling the story of D-Day.
Yeah.
Right. And you're like, yeah. And in Kirksville, Missouri, you know, sent 57 men to Omaha Beach. You know, you'd be like, yeah, that damn right we did. You know, so I mean, I think Catalog of Ships would probably have been one of the more exciting chapters for people to hear. Of course, we call it a chapter, but it, you know,
that's
it
a
would
good
have been
point.
a song.
So I'm sure back then too, like you know, now we can just like Google things we want to satisfy us. You know, it's like if we had a farm to survive, you know, 360 days of the year, we probably just like work.
Yeah.
So the one day you get to feel pride, other than just like, you know, pride is not as readily accessible as it is today's.
Yeah. Yeah, it would have been a huge deal. And the bards were traveling, you know, people, and they'd show up in town and you'd feed them while they were there, and they'd sing for you at night. You know, so if you think the Iliad is 24 chapters and it takes about an hour from what, you know, estimate to sing that each chapter. So that's 24 hours.
Are you trying to pitch our next live album?
Maybe. I will say, it makes me feel, you know, when we do
John the Green.
But when we do 4 hours, you know, with no breaks, you know, I mean, that's probably what they would have done. You know, just sang for a couple hours. Next night, do another couple hours. Yeah. You know, then maybe done the Odyssey the next night or some version of it. Yeah. Because I think it was probably told for about 800 years, they reckon, before it got written down the first time. So anyway, back to folk art. You know, that song, the Iliad, that song, that 24-hour song was written for the Greek peoples. Sure. You know, so, and that was kind of to serve a purpose for them, to entertain, to provide history. You know, all these things were wrapped up in, all the functions were wrapped up together. So for the folk art that's coming over, you know, with the Irish, Scotch, and English immigrants, you know, you've got their stories, whatever those are, you know, and, you know, unfortunately with with Africans, you know, you're getting a lot of that stripped away. Yeah. And that's
forced out of them.
Yeah. And, you know, they were, you know, to a great degree forcibly converted to Christianity. Yeah. And, you know, it seems that was taken to, you know, the story of the Hebrews and, you know, going out of, you know, across the River Jordan, that, you know, that they took that and made it into something, you know, I don't know. I don't even know how to say that, you know, but like they took that story and made it their own in a whole nother way, you know, in a really beautiful way. Because they had no story anymore, you know? So when you have, you know, A.P. Carter going around collecting these different folk stories, you know, you have, then you have like Robert Johnson going around and singing these stories, and he's singing the stories that are happening. You know, and, you know, when you think about it, you know, a blues song, it's like, well, it's a lot of crying and being sad. And it's like, well, yeah, I mean, yeah, you know, so it's,
have you seen Django Unchained?
I have.
So I don't know if that story, the German folk song of Hildy, or story of Hildy, is true, that they use in that movie, but basically the movie becomes the story of the German folk story of Hildy. But told because his wife's name is Hildy, Jamie Foxx's wife.
Oh, I think I saw that right when it came out.
Okay.
I haven't seen it since.
So, the guy who plays the Nazi in Inglourious Bastards, he's like the shittiest guy in the world in Inglourious Bastards. In the next Quentin Tarantino movie, he's the coolest guy, and he's still German, which is funny too. But he frees Django and is helping him find Hildy. And the story is that there's a folk story of Hildy who gets like saved from, I just watched it the other day, but I was probably half drunk. But essentially the movie becomes a Western retelling of the German story of rescuing Hildy. Whoa. And
That's very archetypal.
Yeah, it's cool. But it reminds me of when you said the taking a story, and like Hildy and Jamie Foxx are both slaves, but that becomes their story.
Yeah.
Literally.
Wow.
Him rescuing her.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
And that's it. I mean, and just the idea that that story is retold as a different story.
Yeah.
You know, that...
Well, it's like Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Every story is Shakespeare, you know?
Yeah.
Even if it's episode 1 and 3 of Star Wars, you know, it's...
Yeah. And I mean, the fact that The Mandalorian is a Western, that a Western is a samurai story, that a samurai story is a King Arthur story, that a King Arthur story is the Enuma Elish, you know, that they're all the same stories. So, and the fact that a story and a song are the same thing is like one you sing and one you tell, you know, or if in the case of the Iliad, you tell and you sing it, it's the same thing.
It's all vibrations, man.
It's all vibrations. It's all vibrations, really. Okay, so folk is the art of the people, right? So that is just a basic definition. And if
you're right over there, John, I saw you.
I was just sorry, Michael, to interrupt, but I was reading a little bit about that. The story of Hildebrand. Is that what we're probably looking at?
Yeah.
Wikipedia says that it is. It was written in the 830s.
Wow.
2 spare leaves.
830 AD?
I believe so.
Oh.
On 2 spare leaves of the outside of a religious codex in the monastery of Fulda. They just found it. It was like written on a piece of scrap paper.
Whoa.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Okay. Carry on, Michael.
Wow. To drop ball
leaves too, right?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, a lot of those older texts you can actually still see because they'd take leaves and press them together, you know, to make the paper, and you can actually still like kind of see outlines of leaves in some of them. It's cool. It's wild. So the point of the folk art is to serve the people, and so if you have music that is made for a population of people. And so country music is folk music because it's made for, you know, white, middle class, you know, middle, Western, and Southern Americans, right? That's kind of there is a group of people, and then you create the music for those people. And then rap and hip hop also has a you know, a demographic. You know, African American, urban, generally younger. You know, country might lean more towards like, you know, middle aged maybe.
Sure.
Right. I mean, it's like Taylor Swift was kind of. I mean, people, you know, market to kids, but
yeah. Well, that gets into the genre of pop of anything though too.
Yeah.
Now we're into like a selling Red Bull and Kleenex version of those genres too.
Yeah.
You know,
and rap generally tends to market a little bit younger, and but there's a population, you know, and you do what that population wants, right? And so that is that's where attention starts to build, right? So you get somebody like Sturgill Simpson who comes out and says, you know, I'm making country music, but if you listen to his interviews, he's very adamant that he does what he wants. That's fine.
Yeah.
I would argue then that makes him not country in a folk sense, right? What he does sounds country because he uses steel guitars, because he, you know, has a Southern accent. There's kind of a lot of these trappings about country music, but he also puts out rock albums with samurai movie.
Yeah.
You know,
I feel like that's where you get into the idea of country as a market word.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. And, you know, which is funny. I think I tried to pull up a few
I think that's the one people get most upset about, which is interesting too. You know, they get upset about it being marketed as country, not being folk.
Yes, exactly. So I pulled up a couple of interesting. So this is one of the ways that folk and hip hop, or country and hip hop, are both folk, is because there is since they're being marketed to and made for a demographic, I hear Toby. He's pawing on the door. The demographic.
I need to take a shit.
Sorry, Toby. That demographic is invested in the music because that reflects on who they are.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you are, we can hear Toby. I don't know if you can hear Toby back there, but
He's mad as hell.
So if what people don't like is the people that say they represent them not representing them in a way that they don't agree with, right? Or cast them in a light that they don't like. Okay, so rap and hip hop have this idea. Rap and hip hop and then country both have this idea of identity wrapped up in the music, and protecting that is very important. So, Sturgill Simpson has this quote. I'm tired. It's in one of his songs. I'm tired of y'all playing dress up and trying to sing them old country songs. So he's saying, I don't want you to pretend to be the thing. I want you to be real. So, I have a couple of different ones pulled up here. This is one my wife sings fairly frequently. Bush lights. Oh, you got a bush light. I'm sorry, I'm just almost out.
I only drink my friend's beer. I promise I'm not like this all the time.
It's all right. I'll wait till you're done.
John's music's over.
All right. Okay, so back to the other side. Here is J-Lo, Jennifer Lopez. Jenny from the Block starts out. I lost my place where she starts singing. Oh, the first line she says in the song: "Don't be fooled by the rocks that I got. I'm still Jenny from the Block." Right. So she's admitting right up front that she is wearing more jewelry than most of her fans can afford. But don't be fooled. I'm still you. I'm still, it's like that. That's like, let's get that out.
I feel like that's where the folk. So I've heard you say this before. The folk sings from the bottom up.
Yes.
And I feel like when you reach pop, the thing that happens, regardless of your genre, is you sing from the top down, and you sing. You either have more jewelry than them, and you get more dick than them.
Whoa.
Yeah, and you have better trucks. You got more land.
Yeah.
It's like it's the same.
Got better hunting blinds.
Yeah, that's the weird once it becomes, I feel like the pop version of it, it sings down.
Yeah, which I think that is kind of the consistent. There's this cycle of. I think Coulter Wall kind of just made a splash because he's down in Texas working as a ranch hand.
Canada,
Texas.
His ranch is in Canada.
Joe Rogan.
Somebody's gonna have to
I think that's
fact check the fact checker.
I only know this because him and Cody Jinks. Cody has a ranch in Texas, and they went and visited each other's ranch.
Oh, well,
which Coulter is Canadian.
Well, yeah, he's also enormous. He's an enormous.
He's
Canadian.
actually a very small man. But
no.
What?
No. Fact check this. Coulter Wall is an enormous man.
I'm pretty sure I thought he was tiny.
He's tiny, dude.
Yeah.
How big do you think he is? 9 foot tall?
I have seen pictures of him with other people.
You think he's one of them giants from them?
Those Reebok.
Have you been watching Ancient Aliens? Where they have giants?
No.
Where they find giants every day?
No, I swear I've seen pictures of him with people that he's like literally twice their height.
Were they children?
He had to be at least 6.5 feet tall.
What? Are you thinking the wrong guy? Are you thinking like Bill Nye, the really tall guy, or something?
Are you thinking of Justin Wells?
Bill Nye, the really tall guy.
I don't think you're thinking of the same.
Wow. Okay, comment in the...
Coulter is one of my favorites, but I do not know his height.
Well, okay, everybody comment on this and give us your estimations of Coulter Wall's height, please. I would like to know.
It's not listed. He's only been seen in public in wheelchairs.
Yeah, I'm not... it must not be very extreme in either direction because...
Have you checked Wikipedia?
Yeah.
Have you tried Canadapedia?
Have you tried a Mimi?
Here's a picture of him sitting in a square body, and he looks shorter than I do. So
you guys, I can't.
Why do you think he was so big?
I've seen pictures of him with other people, and he was like a foot taller than them.
Was it a small woman or a dwarf?
Maybe he was on a box.
No, it was that Vincent Neil
probably got some of them
Emerson
big
guy that's always playing Freebird.
Probably got some of them.
You're talking about us?
big height.
No.
Well, do you know how tall Vince Neil? Maybe.
I don't know. I never saw Motley Crue live.
He was huge. I did.
If I was him, I would change my name to Venison Neil. And I would go with that for the rest of my life.
Okay, well, I feel like I have my lack of height perception.
Sorry, I totally derailed you. Go back to everything pre Culture Wall's height, and then he's from Texas.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's here. I'm seeing him. I'm looking at some other pictures.
I don't want to hear about it anymore. I was wrong. I'm sorry.
He was probably in the stand-up wheelchair in that picture. He's got one of those where it makes him look real tall.
Oh wait, here. Hold on.
You know where
this one, I found it here.
Where the ranch is, how tall he is, are actually not important to the point I was even trying to make.
This ad or this site here says that he is 3.
The point is that he works on a ranch, and everybody
That must be E-Bomb's World. That can't be right.
and then everybody thinks he's a badass because he still works on a ranch.
I think he's badass.
We can agree with that.
Sure.
Okay, I mean that's the thing that people like to talk about.
Is that where everybody likes Addison Lee?
Could be. He sells cattle. You know?
Yeah.
So, okay. Coulter, if you're listening, to hell with you. I'll standardize your height. I would like to listen.
It's probably not even listed in units we can understand here in America.
Yeah. 379 meters tall.
I'd like that listed in the liner notes of your album, please. Okay, so people like Coulter Wall because he works on a ranch.
Yeah,
they think that's cool,
right?
That also is a thing in hip hop music.
Yeah,
that a lot of people say, oh, they're still selling drugs. They still run drugs. That is like a badge of honor that they're still doing the thing you do. All right. So there's this crisis of identity that, you know, have you sold out? Right.
Yeah, so, the sellout thing. Yeah, it's a big one.
Yeah. So
everybody.
I found a couple of tunes, and I don't really actively listen to Aaron Lewis, but he had one where I thought the line really encapsulated this because it was written really well as far as him trying to draw the line about what is country, what is not, which you know, I mean, is really ironic for the singer of Stained. You know, I feel like I'm young enough for that to be weird, but no.
It's like one of those things where the fact is so obviously like in your face.
Yeah,
you know, where you're like trying to I'm real country, and you're like, yeah, but you're also stained. Yeah. You know, so it's like he
is stained by his former career.
I'd just like to say, I just found a picture of Coulter Wall sitting next to a fellow with a heavy Western hat on.
Oh, no kidding! You save that.
I will.
Is it Daniel Hall?
Does he look enormous?
He's actually very small.
Gosh, my world.
But the heavy Western hat looks incredible.
Does it look incredibly huge?
Yeah, it covers his eyes.
I'm
so sorry, Michael.
Shook. I'm shook. I don't know even what to say. Okay, so okay, but so this identity thing. I mean, that's really important, and you have to defend it, right? Don't sell out.
Yeah. But you, Aaron Lewis, that is an interesting point. It's kind of like Darius Rucker.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you have this thing where it's like, well, you were really, really big as Hootie and the Blowfish. So does other things you do matter? You know, it's like Aaron Lewis. It's like, well, I mean, we saw you be really not country for a really long time. I don't care.
Yeah,
I think you're cool, and I think you're cool in both things. But there are a lot of people who I feel like who really are steadfast that he is real country. Where if you'd put some, you know, if the singer of Creed came out with a really badass outlaw country record, you know, does his like rock and roll cred come into, you know, it's like it's this sort of like we're just kind of breezing over some of the like facts of it for these like, how does it make you feel? Which I feel like a lot of this stuff comes down to just how does this person make you feel?
Which that should be, I think, if you're talking about art, that should be the most important thing.
Sure, yeah.
if
But I feel like, to take it out of the context is weird. You know, it's like by how I feel, I'm judging them. I'm saying now that is fact.
mm-hmm.
It's like if I just said, you make me feel good and I like this art, and that'd be the thing. But now it's like, because of how I feel, you are factually lame.
Yeah.
Like, because how I feel, Creed or Nickelback is factually lame.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what's that have to do with how I feel?
Yeah. Well, so that is a weird thing to do with this, where people are very territorial about this, which, you know, and I love country music.
Oh yeah.
And I like a lot of rap and hip hop. So I'm, you know, I'm not condemning any of this.
Yeah,
I mean, this is just how we as people do this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but there was Corey Smith. We played with him a couple years ago here in Columbia.
Yeah.
And
he was actually surprisingly tall. He was one that was very tall.
Now, I don't remember that. But so what was really odd is I found, I just did Google search on, like, you know, songs about country, you know, and he came up, and it was a song about, oh, you got your cowboy hat, you got your big boots on, oh, you got your big truck. And it was, you know, it was kind of the digging the stereotypical country singer, right? And Corey Smith is a country singer. And it was not a country song. It was like a blues funk song. So I thought it was really interesting that he would take that, like, lyrical twist, but then just be like a blues funk.
You almost wonder if that point is it ironic?
I don't know. I you know, and I didn't spend that much time, so maybe he's got something going on that I'm just, like, not aware of. I'll admit, when we played with him, I only saw like a couple of tunes. I think I enjoyed Matt Stell that night quite a bit more. And John pulled him out.
What did he pull him out of?
A tight spot. Well, his motorhome broke down, like, on like 10th Street,
and fired up the old Cummins,
and he pulled his whole motorhome out just with, like, his truck. It was great.
It was really dope.
And then Matt Stell went, like, number one.
I was babysitting Brad on the sidewalk, and then Brad ran away.
Yeah. And then, like,
man, I would never do anything like that.
And then, like, 3 months later, Matt Stell went, like, number one on the country charts. And I heard the guy say, "Yeah, and that was Matt Stell." I was like, "Oh my God!"
He probably got a better motorhome.
He's got a better motorhome.
Matt Stell rules.
So I want to go back to, all right. So that's like folk art, and there's this identity crisis going on. But if we go back to, like, Sturgill Simpson, okay, he's creating from top down, like you had said. You know, he's top down. I'm doing what I want to do, and if you like it, cool. If not, get the hell out. Right?
Yeah, it's not for the people.
Yeah,
you know?
And that's fine. But when that's what you do, then what you do, if what you do is country, it's almost by accident.
Sure.
When that happens. So there are, you know, two ways you can look at this. The ancient Greeks used the term techne to describe art or work, and art is in, like, craftsmanship. So they would, you know, the blacksmiths, the carpenters, and the poets, and the sculptors, they were all considered the same. You know, we consider sculptors and carpenters to be completely different fields.
Sure.
In their minds, it was all the same. And so if you're a blacksmith and you work for your money, you're a poet, you work for your money, you just kind of, you know, do your thing. And that was just how they saw it. There was no delineation. At some point, and Andrew Ford has a great book on this, The Origin of Criticism, if anybody was interested. Really fascinating stuff that we'd gone over in grad school. But sorry.
Sure.
Just thinking about that time when I was, like, actually thinking about this stuff too, and I tried to tell Conrad, like, at Nash Vegas, and he looked at me like I was insane, and I'm like, well, I was insane for trying to tell you right now while there's a band playing. Yeah. Anyway, so eventually they started to make it the different delineation between craft and craft that represents life. Poetry, song, sculpture, that sort of thing.
So art.
Yeah, exactly. So then they called that metatechne. And so I feel like that's where, you know, you start to get this split between the two. But
for my sake, techne is basically art and design that is functional.
Yes.
And metatechne is unfunctional.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, on a real basic.
Yeah. So you've got, contractors and builders on one side and poets on the other.
Yeah.
And then, but you have different functions for art, right? And that's, I think, really important to remember when you think of, somebody might say, that's a bad song, right? And so, well, you've got different functions for songs, right? Happy birthday. Nobody sings that to entertain themselves.
Yeah.
Right. It's like a functional.
It is only to embarrass.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So you have didactic songs, there's ABCs, right? The teachable songs,
sure, yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So that you sing ABC.
Twinkle Twinkle Little Star and ABC, same song. Boom.
Whoa.
Sit on that one, dude.
That's even a bigger revelation than Coulter Wall, than Coulter Tall.
He's no longer Coulter Small.
He's no longer Coulter Tall. Now he's Coulter Small. Gosh.
I'm so sorry.
Man, I just
Just riffing over here. Sorry, dude.
I'm actually really questioning how on earth did I believe he was so huge? Anyway. So you have teachable songs, didactic, right? ABCs. If you grew up in church, there's a song to learn all the books of the Bible. There are religious songs, right, which are for religious purposes. You have the Greek liturgical chants. You have
Little buddy.
What do you guys sound like?
We got
They're making eyes at each other.
We got a guy that drives by the anything we could do to not let Michael finish the story. We got a guy that drives by the house here every night on a moped without a muffler on it.
I'm guessing 49cc, so it doesn't have to have a license or a helmet. But
yeah.
Are you sure it's that big?
I mean,
I've seen him in the daylight when he's coming back home.
Right. It's below freezing right now, and
he's
riding
ass.
a moped, so I don't think he has a license.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'd be going pretty fast too if it was this cold.
One of these nights I'm going to get on the soft tail of my coveralls and I'm just going to tag him all the way to wherever he's going.
And down to the Steak and Shake.
All right, if you guys want to take Toby and
no, please finish.
Okay, so you have religious songs, right? Greek chants, Amazing Grace.
Did they have a name for those, like religious tunes that weren't teaching ones?
I mean, I just called them religious tunes.
Oh, I didn't know if it was like the meta-dactite stuff
well, so I mean, the Greeks were pretty. I don't know if
was
they had
music
songs.
considered art in their realm of like.
It would have eventually at that point been eventually worked its way towards that. I do not know how much music played into their religion.
Well,
they
I guess
were pretty secretive about a lot of the mysteries. And that was so there was singing, but I don't know much about that part.
I feel like all the singing I hear is for history. It's not for like I wrote this really dope new tune. You know, it's always like a telling of something. You know, just
so you get songs like later when you get songs like Amazing
it's
Grace.
all teaching.
I mean,
in that sense,
with the Iliad, it's teaching, it's cultural, it's entertainment.
That was like Beyonce's new record coming out when the Iliad hit the scene.
Dude, I mean, yeah. I mean, and if you think about like when somebody says like, my new record's supposed to teach and encourage and entertain, and I mean it's art does that. So, but you also have, back to like Sturgill Simpsons. You have like the Apollonian idea where it is created for the sake of creating it. Right? I'm going to create this thing, and it's going to be great, and that's what it's going to be. And I'm creating it for the sake of creating that a good thing. You have the Dionysian, which would just be like a party tune. Yeah. Right. But it's good.
It's Kiss.
Yeah. But it's
Van Halen. Yeah.
For the sake of being a party tune. And I would even, I would probably like disco songs, how they would have those extended cuts for the sake of dancing. Yeah. Because they knew people were dancing and they wanted to provide a dance track for people, or, I don't know. I mean, I feel like you feel it. We were packing up the other night and they turned on some rap but it was like, you know, 90s, late 90s, early 2000s stuff. And it was like, you know, if you know that stuff, it hits you different than something like modern, you know, because there's a little bit of nostalgia mixed in there.
Yeah.
And when you're like kind of drunk and it's 1:30 and there's not many other people in the bar at this point, like, you know, that kind of party, you know, where you're just like, I don't care, I'm taking my shirt off.
Yeah.
You know, and in the Dionysian festivals in Greece, like people would die. Like they would party for like a week straight.
Oh my God.
And they would drink so much and like people would just be torn apart. Like they would just go crazy, you know? Wow. So like, so when people say like, you know, really party and going hard, it's like, they'd go for it.
You heard the Dionysius?
Well, yeah. So I mean, there's these different functions for art. And I think that's something to consider when you're looking at, you know, if you look at a country song and you say, that's a bad country song. And so, well, maybe it's not being made for the reason you think it is. You know,
sure.
Or if you look at a hip hop song, you say, well, that's not a good song. Maybe it's, you know, because ABC, I don't think ABC is a great song.
Yeah.
But it's not supposed to be an entertaining song.
Yeah.
It's supposed to help me remember the friggin' alphabet.
Or like, this one always hits me, but like, yeah. With Usher, Lil Jon, and Ludacris in it. You know, like even though that song, like, when I compare it to other whatever genre I listen to, rap or whatever, it's not like good, or you know what I mean, it's not there's not a lot of, I hate to even start putting those labels on it, but the purpose of that song is to get me jacked. You know, and I remember seeing that video in the mornings before school. You know, it's not to like, it wasn't to show the best rapper of the day. Yeah. You know, that song had a very specific goal.
Dude, that was my alarm for like a year.
Wow.
So I would wake up to,
you're just like,
peace out, A-Town down. And I would have to hit the snooze before that synth came in and woke Becky up.
Before you say, Lil Jon got something to make your booty go wet.
Dude, such a great tune.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it's not supposed to be a classic piece of art. It's supposed to get people excited and dance and drunk and hopefully bang at the end of the night. You know, and it's like that's a, you know, and that might make, you know, some people feel uncomfortable, but I think like ZZ Top talks about that. Yeah. That they're like, we're trying to get people laid. Yeah. You know, that's part of the Dionysian.
That's why in the videos they say we're not the ones getting laid. People in the videos are.
Yeah. They also won't cut those gall-darn beards.
Yeah.
But so there's a reaction to this too. So you get that, like, you get this bottom up country music, right? And what happens is the population changes. And that's where you start to get this rub of, you know, I remember seeing Sturgill Simpson talk about Garth Brooks, worst thing that ever happened to country music. You know, and that's when I knew that, like, Sturgill was going somewhere different that I wasn't going to be able to follow totally. And, you know, if you listen to anybody who's born in the 80s or 90s, they love Garth Brooks. Yeah. Right? He's great. You know, I love a lot of his tunes. He's weird as all get out. But you know what? That's okay. That's not what I need him for.
He literally never doesn't cry.
So, but like, he's like, okay, I love Garth Brooks. Yeah. Sturgill liked the country from like the 70s. So he sees Garth Brooks as a betrayal of that. Sure. Because the identity from the 70s was betrayed. So if you listen to, then you grew up with Garth Brooks. Cool. You like Garth Brooks. Then like the stuff you hear in the 2000s is like, well, this isn't country. This isn't what I grew up on. It's like, yeah, no, it's not, because it's for a people, and there are new people now.
The world's moved on.
Yeah, there are. Ooh, you should write a song about that. Put it on our last record.
Already did.
But there's you know, there's new people now, and so you know, now there are people writing for them. You know, and that's a hard thing to come to terms with, that you are now just a selection of the people being written for, you know.
I don't want to bring this back to Star Wars.
Why would that be a problem? As I slurp from your Chewbacca mug.
But George Lucas, in an interview after Return of the Jedi came out, and a lot of the fans were upset from, you know, A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back that it had changed, right? You know, have the Ewok stuff. And he said, because this Star Wars was not made for you. Your Star Wars was made for you when you were kids. And the premise of your Star Wars was good versus evil. And the premise of Return of the Jedi is that no matter how small you are, you can do great things. And that's what this Star Wars is for. And for these kids.
Whoa.
Yeah. Which I thought was really neat.
Yeah. I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
That's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Makes me feel a lot better about liking Phantom Menace so much.
I love Phantom Menace. I don't know what that one's about, but
it's about NASCAR.
Odie Mandrell, or I don't know.
Oh.
George is like, so, been watching a lot of NASCAR.
I mean,
You guys heard Dale Earnhardt?
Hey, he's making a left turn.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite part.
So you have the, the people then that are upset.
Yeah.
With that this has moved on.
Yeah.
And it is a commercial enterprise.
And
so,
Sturgill's is weird too, because it's like he's someone who is like why people respect him and why he is cool is because he is just doing art for the sake of doing it. Like, I think it's really cool that he did an anime with an album to it.
Oh yeah.
But it's weird that he keeps like, is that Toby?
John, come let Toby in.
It's weird that he keeps sort of kind of forcing it back into this, like, the weird country thing. You know, it's like, just be an artist. You know, it's like, just do a sculpture or paint on this building. You know, it's like, just
go mow lawns.
Yeah, in the shit.
He was doing with the Bluegrass album.
Yeah,
it was a great album. I loved it.
But like, why is I think it's cool that you didn't do. I think you did a weird electronic album with an anime. But if you were, you are not being country.
Yeah.
By the standards of country. So why is everybody else not being country by like a problem? It's like, why is it a problem for?
Well, and the Grand Ole Opry didn't allow drums until the 40s.
Yeah.
Because that was not country.
Yeah.
Because country didn't have drums. They just had the bass. And so bringing in the drums was a huge betrayal of that. And it's like, well, I'm a drummer, so I like drums.
Yeah.
But
think about this, that if anybody knows the Osborne Brothers song, or their version of it, Rocky Top, that they were considered, they would have been like the Florida Georgia Line of their genre.
Oh, Waylon and Willie.
Yeah.
The Florida Georgia Line of their fucking thing,
Well, yeah, I mean, when people talk about, back when it was, I think right now people really are looking back to Waylon and Johnny Cash and that kind of 60s, 70s country, which, I mean, Johnny Cash is my all-time favorite musician.
You ever actually listened to a Glenn Campbell song?
They're pretty glitzy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's, but people will pinpoint and say, okay, well that, Waylon, that's where it's at. And it's like, okay, well, I mean, he wasn't, oh, wow, are you okay, John?
No.
And it's like, obviously he was doing stuff differently than what other people were doing back then.
Yeah.
But, he wasn't Glenn Campbell. But there were people that thought he wasn't country.
Yeah.
When he was doing it.
Yeah.
And then if you go, well, what did he like?
That's a weird fixation to me, is the weird, what is it about trying to shove this thing into the country hole? Like, why does it have to be this weird, okay, Sergio wants to do a album about the ocean with a lot of delay and sparkly noises on it, and then he wants to do but why does he just keep coming back to this, well, you're not country. It's like, motherfucker, who cares? It's like, it don't matter. None of it matters. Yeah. It's like, why is this? Why are we still so hooked up in this? Like,
well, I mean, it's identity.
Yeah,
we're hooked in it because it's identity. That's part of how we are identifying ourselves as a tribe.
Yeah.
So it's like, you start messing around with the tribal tattoos.
And it's like if I'm jerking off in the corner over here at Tabasco and I'm like, this is country music. And it's like, and they're like, no, it ain't. And I'm like, yeah, it is. And it's like, but I'm like, I'm ugly, so I'm more country music than the hot guy. I'm like, I don't know. It's like, what?
Hi, Toby. Hey.
Oh my God.
You want to weigh in on this?
It's frisky as hell.
Oh, He does not want to weigh in. Okay.
You fucked up.
You're just really bad at picking him up. I saw that. You try and hold him up by his leg.
He was fighting me. I'm sorry.
All right, we're diverging too much.
Right. So you get people. You get the red dirt, the screw Nashville. That's a whole movement in country music. Cody Jinks and Whitey Morgan and all of these guys.
I love all these dudes,
dude. Yeah, it's great, and it's great tunes. Yeah, and so
I'm just always so confused by why they're all so mad at each other all the time. like I really like all you guys. What are you fighting about?
So you get that movement, right? Yeah. And then Nashville responds. And I think I never remember the name.
They're like, cue up Zach Bryan. Warner Bros. Has a new symbiote creature that we can unleash.
Okay, so Luke Bryan released.
No one will see it coming.
Zach Bryan smells like sulfur. I know people. People have been around and said it smells like sulfur.
So Luke Bryan released. Not Zach Bryan. Luke Bryan released a song.
Yeah, worse Bryan. Way worse Bryan. Sorry.
What did Joe Rogan say? Yeah, see, you're really hard to talk.
You're hard to talk to. You're coughing like that. You're shaking the camera around like it's gonna look like a damn tornado's going on or something while we're trying to do this one.
Okay. Well, so Luke Bryan released What Makes You Country. Right.
Uh-huh.
And it's all about, here's all these things that could make you country. Right. I'm not going to lie. I'm not a huge fan of the tune, but I thought it was really interesting as that he saw fit to, comment back,
Sure.
I know there was a big deal where, somebody asked about him and he made a very polite comment about, I would love to meet Sturgill Simpson. I think, what he's doing is really interesting.
Yeah.
And Sturgill replied, I don't know any of his music. It's like, oh, cool. Well, and like, I like Sturgill Simpson's music a lot more than Luke Bryan's. But it's like, you don't need to be an asshole.
Yeah, why are you acting like that?
Florida Georgia Line also released a song, Can't Say I Ain't Country.
Yeah.
Which, John, I don't know. I'm sure you've probably never heard this song. Mm-mm. Actually, I don't think I have either. But, because I feel like I would have remembered these lyrics. But, I wake up and get me a gas station biscuit, head town, and wash it down with some Mountain Dew.
Mm.
I mean, if that ain't just...
That's not me and John combined.
Yeah.
I know that's not Diet Dew for you, but I'm not sure if we're actually like legally allowed to...
If it said Hardee's biscuit...
I mean, we can talk about it, I think. We just
can't.
Can't play the track?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Anyway, so there's that interesting rebuttal back to, them saying, well, they make music for people from the bottom up, saying, hey, we'll make whatever you want. And then Sturgill says top down, no. And then they say, yeah. And, they're having a conversation on the airwaves.
Which is really great for everybody because everybody sells records because of it.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes you think like, wait, am I being duped?
Ooh, maybe they're in on it.
Yeah, maybe.
So John, one thing we talked about you had planted a seed way back about country and rap kind of coming together, right? That's a thing.
Yeah.
And we talked folk music is for people, specific groups of people. But you mentioned I was homeschooled, so I didn't have any friends. But you had friends. I've heard tell you had friends.
A few.
So you went to bonfires.
Yes.
Right? And you did the thing where you might have been partaking underage and there were gals and...
There's records of these things.
Wow, women?
I've yet to meet a woman myself, but...
I meant okay, yeah, go ahead.
But you said that in these backwoods bonfires where you're shooting guns and drinking and doing all of the traditional stereotypical redneck stuff...
Absolutely.
That a lot of times they'd be playing rap or hip-hop.
It was at the time it was Justin Moore.
Is he a hip hop artist?
No, but he had those two albums come out, and we listened to those. It really just depended on whose truck was down there that night and what CD was in their truck. But yeah, there was a lot of sure. There was a lot of rap going on too.
Yeah.
I wasn't a fan of it. There was a lot of people down there at the fires at the time that they weren't a fan of it either. But I mean, it was just it was.
But a lot of people were.
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
I think that when I remember you saying that, and then thinking, because I already had that question about like why would you ever try to mix these two seemingly opposite genres. Mm-hmm. And then you talked about, okay, well, we listen to rap music. And I was like, oh, yeah.
Well,
so if you're making music from the bottom down,
sure,
bottom up, saying, well, whatever you want, we'll make, right? Because that's what folk music does, is it says, whatever you want, we'll make that for you. And if your demographic is drinking around bonfires, but also listening to rap music, it's only a matter of time before you do both.
Well, and that was where shortly after that, we got a lot of folks got into the the actual country rap.
Yeah, the hick hop.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was an interesting time where what's his name, Colt Ford, came about,
is he a large man or a small man?
I've actually seen him live.
He's a big dude.
Yeah, saw him at Bricks Off Road Park, and
I feel vindicated.
He's very large, pro golfer, by the way. But he, I never minded his music. That I guess I wouldn't probably just search up his music and listen to it on a day. But all these people that were like, oh, it's not country because he's rapping or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, but it's I felt like it was very original,
Yeah, yeah.
And he was it was exactly what you're saying, Michael. He was taking the rap or the hip hop elements and but he was just singing about stuff that we were doing. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
I always felt that my early tastes, which have changed, and I've listened to a lot of stuff and then found that I liked it, was all just for me personally on like what guitar was in it. So I found a lot of the early, when I wasn't that into rap, was really just because there was no guitar, and all I really cared about at that time was guitar. It's like I wanted riffs, I wanted Ozzy Osbourne. There was riffs, but I also wasn't listening to like 3 Days Grace because the riffs blew ass. You know, so it's like So
3 Days Grace, if you're listening, he's not sorry.
Yeah. So to me, really, it wasn't that I didn't like rap. It was just that I also just didn't like anything that didn't have. I was trying to learn guitar.
Yeah, it wasn't doing anything for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't listening to lyrics.
And as a drummer, there's a heck of a lot going on that I like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In 3 Days Grace, or. I hate everything about poop. I do too.
Well, this trailer's not a home.
Yeah. So glad we let Toby in here. Well, I think that's the. So I think I want to be clear that I'm not necessarily advocating anybody changes their opinion on whether they like rap or whether they like country, whether they don't like Garth Brooks. You should like Alan Jackson. That's not really a debatable. I mean, it's a fact.
Yeah, dang, I think that's something
Alan Jackson,
that all America can agree on, right?
Alan Jackson is a fact.
Yeah, it's all good. It's kind of like going to Golden Corral. It's like everything there is good, but the fact that I get a whole plate of mashed potatoes and gravy and popcorn chicken, and then somebody else gets something else, does not make my plate better.
Yeah.
The fact that the fact that Zach Milburn would go to Pizza Ranch and soak his pizza in gravy, and I thought that was just the grossest thing ever. But that doesn't mean that it's not delicious to Zach Milburn.
I might be a Zach Milburn. That sounds pretty amazing.
I mean, and it doesn't mean that's not even gross, but no.
I don't know. It's it's like suffering is relative.
Yeah.
It's
that's where you get with music in general it's like you have this all you can eat buffet. especially now in the world where you don't have to buy anything, you just listen to it anytime you want. And it's just weird that there are anybody who would like point at the asparagus and be like, ew, that one sucks. You're like, well, asparagus is actually pretty good too, are you? You know, it's
See, we could really go down this hole because every time that I try and have this conversation with Michael anyway, somehow I always end up bringing it back to, well, is it good or is it not good? And I know that's not your point here. Is it good or is it not good?
Yeah, well, I think
that's where you bring up the point of potentially critics being valuable or not valuable too. But
that's a whole other podcast there.
Oh golly, well,
art critics.
I think I'm not trying to convince anybody whether rap is good. I'm not trying to convince anybody whether country is good, whether Nashville is viable, whether they should like Luke Bryan, or whether they should.
You say Nashville's vile?
Viable or vile? I don't know. It's up to you. I don't care. What I think I would challenge everybody to do is when they make a statement about something subjective like art, like folk art, or artifice, techne, something like this.
Artifice Gordon.
Artifice Pile.
Oh my
It's
god!
my new rap name, Artifice Pile.
If you find yourself making statements like "that sucks," "that's not good," "that's not real country," "that's not real rap," those two genres shouldn't mix. If you're arguing for segregation of folk music, which I mean is like, if you put it like that, I feel like it should make your stomach pucker a little bit.
It's very anti-American.
Well, it's like we're a mixing pot and you're trying to keep things separate. It's like, no, man, we're just going to stir it. And
just give rap their own school.
God.
That's what it sounds like.
Kind of. So, but I think we just need to ask, why, just ask ourselves questions like, why do you not like it? And I think the guy that says that's just not for me is being probably the most sincere and honest about what is actually happening, what he's being presented with, and why he does not want to participate in it. So if you don't want to listen to rap music, don't listen to rap music. There's literally nothing wrong with never liking a rap song. I think you get into philosophical and like logical problems when you start saying that sucks. Yeah, because that's it's a gross oversimplification. But you run the same thing with saying that one beer is better than another. But you do also run into the issue when you say country sucks. I don't like twang. And you remember that you're dealing with a folk music that is representative of somebody's identity. You are also then trashing that people group. So when you say rap sucks, you're saying that the people who like rap don't have good taste in music and art, and it's like, that's not good practice as a human being to say that about somebody. So
well said.
Yeah,
thank you.
It's very good.
So I don't know. I feel like I kind of want to listen to "Yeah" now by Usher.
I feel like that was a pretty final good point, honestly.
Well, thank you. Toby agrees. Toby agrees. Thank you, Toby.
Get Toby up there.
Here, can somebody put Toby on? Michael doesn't know how to pick him up. Michael tried to pick him up by his tater sack. Here, Toby, get over here.
Or the empty sack where it used to be.
Oh, poor Toby. Toby.
He's like, I don't want to buy on. Well, what do you think? Seem like a good ending in all this?
I'd say so. Yeah, make sure and leave us plenty of comments and tell us how ignorant we are and tell us what you want to hear us talk about next and
what you want to hear us be ignorant about next.
And you just want to have a episode where Toby's just in a room and we just leave the camera on.
Or he's pooping on everything, peeing. But hey, don't forget, guys, we got both kinds here. Heavy and Western.